Edric fell ill soon after. The heir's court grew quiet. No crowds, no visitors. Preparations for my wedding to Lucien, however, kept the estate busy. That was when the uninvited guest arrived. Leora knelt the moment she saw me, weeping as though her heart might break. "Miss Vale, please, go see His Highness." I stepped aside just in time to avoid her clutching my hem. "He's gravely ill," she cried. "He won't wake, and even in his dreams he calls your name." Twice in 2 lifetimes, I heard her voice. An impressive effort. I looked down at her without interest. "You and His Highness grew up together," she pleaded. "Please, just go once." She began to bow again. I was presumptuous. "If you wish it, I will accept a lesser position." Before she could finish, a sharp voice cut in. "Who allowed this filth into the estate?" Hannah, it seemed, had grown bolder since calling the heir a dog. "Steward, remove her." Leora was dragged out and never permitted to return. It should have ended there, but the more I considered her words, the less they made sense. Edric calling my name in illness, dreaming of our marriage. He had never loved me that way. Unless rebirth itself was already absurd, memory was not impossible. If Edric remembered his past life, where would that leave my 3rd move? I had promised Lucien 3 moves to reclaim what was once his. After dying as I did, I would never allow Edric to ascend the throne again. I had the heir's court watched. Edric recovered. Nothing seemed amiss. He stopped demanding annulments and postponed his wedding instead. That unsettled me more. Edric never delayed without reason. Perhaps he knew time was running out. My 3rd move fell on a night 1 month later. That night, the emperor was meant to die. In every dynasty, the night an emperor passes decides everything. Last time, Edric inherited the throne without resistance. This time, there was Lucien. There was me. If my timing was precise, removing Edric would be simple. I prepared quietly. Long talks with my father. Security maps delivered to Lucien. Letters sent to my brothers. The heir's court remained calm. Edric attended court as usual. Leora wept as usual. Then the month passed. That night, I sent Edric a note. Midnight. The city moat. Before Leora, me and Edric had shared gentler memories. Every birthday, we released lanterns by the water. When we were young, I spoke my wishes aloud. Days later, they arrived from the heir's court. By the time I reached the moat, Edric was already there. One glance was enough. The eyes of a reckless heir are not the eyes of a man who ruled for 10 years. "Feels like it's been ages," he said softly. "I remember when you slipped there." He pointed to the rocks below. "You cried until I pulled you back." "You remember well," I replied. "I don't." "So the moment you returned, you decided to leave me?" "Of course," I said coolly. "Should I wait to be killed again?" His brow twitched. Lowering his voice, he said, "I was wrong about you. It was House Calder," Edric said. "When I moved against them, I discovered that one of Leora's attendants had once served their household. She knew about Leora's plan to fake her death. When the moment came, she switched the medicine and shifted the blame onto House Vale." "I believed you," he said, his voice lowering. "That was why I didn't rush to save her. I thought it was another deception. But she truly died. There had always been something wrong about that year. Anyone with sense could see it. But knowing the truth now, what difference did it make? What should never have been done had already been done. Even if she truly killed herself," I said coldly, meeting his eyes. "Even if it was because I once suggested you keep her at your side." "So what?" "Edric," I continued. "Whether to protect her, accept her, or turn away, that choice was always yours, and for a single suggestion you slaughtered my entire house." I don't wish to hear it. The wind rose. Edric suddenly smiled. I know the core of it now. He dragged me forward, to a tree. Leora was there. Bound. Gagged. Crying. Deceivers must die. He drew his sword and killed her without hesitation. So this was his love. This was no longer the Edric of 10 years ago. I clenched my fists. Satisfied? I looked away. Selene, I built things for you. Enough. He laughed again. You're waiting for the hour, aren't you? The hour the Emperor was meant to die. You think with Lucien you can win. I'll show you who rules tonight. He dragged me onto a horse and rode for the palace. A signal flare burst into the sky. The Emperor was said to be dead. The guards knelt. The palace opened. Victory seemed certain. Lucien was restrained. My brothers were bound. My family's soldiers knelt. Edric dismounted and extended his hand. Come, he said softly. My empress. I did not move. Unfilial brat. The Emperor stepped from the chamber. Alive, from the very beginning, my third move had never been a coup. The Emperor was a good ruler. Diligent. Clear-headed. Beloved by his people. And toward House Vale, respectful, even protective. If I already knew that he would pass quietly on this very night, why would I not prepare in advance? Edric had only returned to this world for a single month. He did not know that for more than half a year, the Emperor's physicians had examined him 3 times a day, nor that his medicines had long since been strengthened. In truth, the Emperor's health was far better than it had been in my previous life. From the start, my intention had been simple: to make the Emperor doubt Edric. The first move did that. The second only deepened it. The third was an illusion. We let Edric believe that Lucien and I were preparing to seize the throne, that we would force a succession through blood. Once he moved first, once steel was drawn, all his past transgressions would collapse upon him at once. At that point, his removal would be inevitable. For that, I owed a debt to Leora. Without her, I would never have known such a thing as a sleeping draught, a potion that could still the pulse without harming the body. We found her former mentor. We tested it. The dosage could be measured, the duration controlled. In the original plan, the Emperor himself was meant to die once that night. The only adjustment I made, after Edric's return, was drawing him away from the palace. If he had remained inside, he would have noticed at once. House Vale's forces were never enough for a true coup. This night's rebellion required the Emperor's cooperation. He trusted my father. When my father suggested that Edric might harbor dangerous ambition, the Emperor agreed to test him. He did not know he would appear to die. He did not know this was a heretical design. If you enjoy the fantasy stories, this is only the beginning. Subscribe. The next one is already waiting. 3 months later, I saw Edric again. In the dungeons. Autumn had turned to winter. Snow fell from the sky, just like the day I died. The prison was freezing. Edric had grown thin. Chains bound his wrists and ankles. He sat in the corner, wrapped in a prisoner's rags. It had not needed to end this way. That after his return, he ruled through cruelty, bribing, threatening, killing to seize the guards and city garrisons. By the end, the Emperor would not even see him on his deathbed. Yes, even with the finest physicians, the finest medicine, the Emperor's life was only extended by 3 months. When he heard footsteps, Edric looked up, then away. Then he realized who it was. His eyes lit up. I stepped inside the cell. He stood at once and reached for my hand. I stepped back. His hand froze in the air. "So you still won't forgive me?" he said. I laughed. "Selene, we both returned. This was heaven giving us another chance." "I don't think so," I replied, keeping my distance. Perhaps we returned because someone died with too much injustice. His gaze dimmed. Do you know why, in 10 years of marriage, I never bore you a child? I asked. His eyes fell to my abdomen. From the day I married you, I said calmly. My father gave me a draft to prevent conception. An overmighty consort family could not produce heirs too soon. After withdrawal from power, children could be considered. My family had been loyal. But we did have one child, I continued. His pupils contracted. When you killed me, I was 3 months pregnant. Why tell you? I stepped closer, meeting his eyes. Why would I bear a child for a life like yours? His face drained of color. Edric, I said softly. I was afraid you wouldn't return. I was afraid you'd think your death unjust. I drew the dagger and drove it cleanly into his chest. He stared at me, disbelief giving way to agony. I watched him quietly. This, I said, is what you owed me. Snow fell heavier. Lucien was waiting outside. The path is slippery, he said, kneeling. I'll carry you. I climbed onto his back. Lucien was thin. He had been ill not long ago. But I did not want to walk. He was not warm. Only the hollow of his neck held any heat. I rested there, perhaps because we had grown used to fighting side by side. Perhaps because he never asked why. Tears fell without warning. You know, he said after a while, you were never unloved. Is it possible, he added lightly, that I earned all that silver just so the treasury would be full when you became queen? Oh, now that the goal's achieved, you play at sentiment, trying to soften me? He rubbed his nose. Court. On the day Lucien ascended the throne, the royal seal was divided in two. As agreed, the realm would be ruled together. Yet I had misjudged him. He had no hunger for the crown. First, he claimed poor health and elevated my father as regent. Later, he simply tossed his half of the seal onto my desk. I did not mind. Speaking with intelligent people was pleasant. Half a year later, I became pregnant. Lucien withdrew even further from court. Wherever I went, he followed. When questioned, he only said, my father-in-law is capable. Relax. The child was born safely. A prince. Lucien was delighted, already speaking of naming him heir. I shook my head. In the second year, I suggested expanding the household. Lucien refused. Weak constitution, he said. By the third year, the child could walk and speak. Laughter filled the palace. I forced Lucien back to court. My father was aging. I had never truly desired power, only security. The fourth year, I was pregnant again. Time passed faster than ever. Sometimes Lucien would ask, how many years do I have left? Clever man. Not asking did not mean he hadn't noticed. Tomorrow, I would reply. So hurry. Once you're gone, I'll spend your fortune on an entire palace of lovers. The fifth year, our daughter was born. Lucien suggested naming her heir. I ignored him. That year, he turned 25, 1 year longer than his previous life. And for the first time, I felt no dread, because my earliest plan had been to keep the child, not the father. Lucien took me to watch the sunrise. As light broke through the clouds, the capital lay peaceful below. On the descent, I quietly took his sleeve. Time was gentle. Whether long or short, only this moment mattered. The end.